Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr.
And I'm Arlene Cohen.
And you are listening to the midweek version of Fiber Talk, the twice weekly podcast for the needlework artists.
And we're going to be artists this week. I like it.
We are. It's been ages since we talked.
Yes, it has been.
Holy smokes. Yeah, Vaughn and I got caught up in the cross-stitch vortex there and reproduction samplers, and yeah, we had that was a fun run, but we had to see it through. So
oh well, and it's a great vortex to be caught up in. There's no question about that.
Yep. Well, and then I had a travel, and so I couldn't record one. So then I had a video Wednesday for that, and yeah, it's been well. When I went to sign on to Skype, it said we had last talked a month ago, and whoa, too long. Yeah. Yep. So, we had a lot of fun at Kim's, and before and after, talking about the Bristol samplers, and Vanna's dangerous because now
she's got you going on new projects every day now. It seems
she's just dangerous because now I've got this band thing. I bought the banding. That stuff is cool.
It is. It is.
Have you ever worked with it?
Yeah, well, my LNS sells all the Zweigart products, and so there's lots of variations of Zweigart banding. It seems like, as I was listening to you guys from last week, it seems like you guys got to purchase some pretty special stuff from Europe, and so, but yes, I have worked with some banding, so I get the idea.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, it wasn't new to me because Kim has talked about it, and I've seen it in the store. Mm-hmm. But to me, it was, what are these rolls of cloth for? What do you do with those? And I just ignored them because I just didn't connect with them. And then when Vanna comes along with, hey, look at this, and take designs from Bristol orphanage samplers, and string a whole bunch of them together, and put it on one of those old textile spools. And Janet Green, I think is her name, we met, has done a bunch of those. And, and Vanna's, I'm getting this one and this one. And, oh, wait a minute. Now I get it. Now I get it.
I meant to share, and I will do this. I saw that Vanna had found one of those old textile spools recently. And I have a whole book on those, like the history of those spools and like how to tell the difference between where they come from and all. Like there's a whole book written about those.
Oh my!
I will need to share a picture of that with you.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Wow,
yes.
I didn't even know they existed until Vanna was showing me pictures. I didn't know such a thing existed. Those are neat.
People often, because they often get labeled, which I think it's one of their names, is bobbins. They are bobbins, and so people will send me pictures at an antique store. Are these the bobbins you use for bobbin lace? And they are not. But the word bobbin also gets used, like in a sewing machine, and it's simply a spool that holds thread, and there's just different types of bobbins out there. There's the bobbins I use for bobbin lace. There's the large ones that were used in textile mills, like these old wooden ones that you're finding. And then there's the little, nowadays mostly plastic ones that you use inside a sewing machine. So it's a more generic term than you actually ever think about until you encounter it in different ways. Yeah.
Well, now that you describe that, it opens my mind because I always think bobbins is a small thread holder, but then small relative to what? Well, if it's a massive textile mill, those are small.
Absolutely.
But in your hand, they're healthy sized. Mm-hmm. So, okay, now see there, I've learned something right there.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So I would never consider that a bobbin, but I'm not standing in a factory. Yeah. Okay. But they're beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They are.
And Vanna, got a couple of them on their family reunion trip last weekend, and I have to say, and I'll be the last guy to show up at an antique store, but I have to say, I thought, wait a minute, maybe there's a couple antique stores around here. Maybe I ought to drop in here.
Yes, you better. Yeah. You never know what you can find at those stores. Just gotta say.
Yeah, it might be a little goodie or two. Yeah, I probably won't. Just not my cup of tea.
Oh.
No.
Sometimes the treasure, every so often you can find a good treasure. That's my take on antique stores. And so you just never know when you can find that treasure. And so, I don't know. It's good when you're in the right mood of just wandering around somewhere. You can find fun stuff. There's also that to be said. So.
Yeah, and so you just described the opposite of me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When I'm in the mood, yeah, that'd be right next to never. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, I'm not a shopper.
Yeah.
Best thing that ever happened to me is Amazon and the internet, because I hate going to stores. Yeah. I'm a bad thing. Yep. So, I did want to get in a piece Sandra Millett wrote to me, because we had talked about the Halo Bolt 58830 power supply, and bought one of those things, and they're tremendous, absolutely tremendous. Hold a lot of power. You plug in a magnifier light, because they have a regular wall socket sized outlet, 2 USB ports, a port so you can actually charge your car with the thing. Powerful things. And this Sandra Millett wrote to me and said, can you take those on the plane? And I had done research, because they have some size to them. They're 8 inches long by maybe 3 or 4 wide by a couple inches deep. You know, there's some size and weight to them. Mm-hmm. And right after I bought mine, I had to go on a trip, and I thought, I better check. And so I did with TSA, and you can take them on your carry-on luggage, but you absolutely cannot check them, because if they go in the cargo hold, I mean, they have that rule for lithium and rechargeable batteries anyway,
okay.
You know, because that's what they are. But a monstrosity like that, you would lose it. They would open your suitcase, take it out, and it would be gone. Mm-hmm. But you can carry them on. And I checked with them, and then with some apprehension, I had a trip right after I bought it. And so I had it, I have a backpack that I carry my laptop and all my stitching stuff and everything else that is in all in one backpack. And so it was in there. And I'm TSA pre-check all the time. And I thought, oh, this is, am I going to get stopped this time? Are they going to want to look? Didn't even flinch. Mm. So both ways. So what they say on their site and what was reality, and of course, for everyone, your mileage may vary. But for me, I made 2 flights with that thing, and nobody even wanted to see it. Mm. And then Sandra was going to call Halo, and I said to her, Halo doesn't care. They just sell, they just sell. The only people that are going to matter who care is TSA. Sure. And so then she checked and called them, and they said, yes, as long as you carry it on, you're fine. But you cannot check it in baggage that's going to go in the cargo hold. Mm-hmm. So just a word of advice, if you're looking at one of those type of power supplies, particularly large size ones like the Halo Bolt, you can carry it on. At least the rules say you can carry it on, but you cannot check it. Now, internationally, I have no clue, and quite frankly, if I was going to Europe, I would not take it with me, because my experience, my very, very, very limited experience in Europe is each country, each port of entry, exit is different, and stuff that I've hauled in through one place in Germany was thrown in the trash on the way back home, and same country. So there's no way I would take that with me on an international flight. Just not worth the risk for it's $120. So
sure, yeah.
So anyway, that's the word on that. And Sandra and I had a back and forth, and then at her suggestion, in the next show that I had an opportunity just to mention what she and I had both learned was that with that thing, because they're really terrific. I mean, and there are others. There are other brands. This one came up, and it's very nice. So
nice.
Yeah, that.
And you could jump a car with it, apparently.
I know. I mean, it comes with clamps. It literally comes with clamps to hook onto your battery and plug into that thing. Yes.
Well.
So, I don't keep it in the car.
Okay. Just, yeah, you know.
Yeah. But good to know, you know, that's,
Good to know.
yeah, if you were going on a trip in the winter, snow and ice, I'd probably throw it in. Why not?
Well, I think we should just put it out there. If there's anyone listening who gets this and is using it for all their stitching needs, but then at some point actually does use it to jump their car, will you please write into Gary and let him know? Because I think we need to let people know that, you know, you buy something as a stitching supply, but then you use it to jump your car. That would just be phenomenal to know about. I'm just saying.
That's a story to tell. You're right.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Love to hear about that. Yep.
Yep.
But it does. Yeah. It comes with the clamps. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on your battery and jump it. Go for it.
All right. Sure.
And yeah, I mean, they give full instructions. It's not like it's something someone discovered that you could do with it. It's fully armed. So yeah. And then, Vanna and I had mentioned while we were at Sassy Jack's about the upcoming Hands Across the Sea sampler introductions, and now we can actually talk about them. Anne Roberts, circa 1842, and Frances Graspy, 1845. And those are both smaller. So if you've looked at Hands Across the Sea samplers, free plug here for Nicola, if you've looked at Hands Across the Sea samplers, seen models and go, oh, those monstrosities, I'd never stitch one. These are Vanna sized. These are considerably smaller and much more approachable and manageable. So if you'd like to try a reproduction sampler, these two new ones here are certainly options for you. And they aren't the only ones. I mean, Needlework Press, a lot of people who do reproduction samplers have smaller sized ones.
Sure.
This is just a bit of a change for Nicola and the Hands Across the Sea sampler people, because hers are always giants. So, but they're beautiful. I mean, I bought both of them. I swore I was not going to buy another hats
and
chart.
You bought them both?
I did.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've got a stack of them, you know, that, I probably will never stitch them. I mean, I've got a stack, and I just said to myself, this is stupid. And then I saw them and I bought them. So, I like them both. Yeah. Yeah.
If you like them, then you get them and you be proud to own them.
Yep.
That's what it is.
And I convinced myself that they're smaller, so I'm more likely to stitch them, which is utter hogwash. Because I don't care how big they are. So anyway, check those out. Kim at Sassy Jack's has them, obviously. They have them at the attic. I'm sure everywhere else. And of course, you can always get them from Nicola at the website there. But yeah, they're nice ones. They're nice, nice sized, very attractive. Very attractive. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so that let's see, I think that's all the business part. Needle minders, get your needle minders. Did Marga send you 1-inch ones?
Yes, she did.
Okay, good.
One of them is on the project that I've been working on right now, actually. So
good.
Yes, love them. They're, as Vanna said, they're cute little things. They are. So yes.
Yep. Still available on the website at the shop page.
Yes.
They are. And then you do this every year, and I just think it's one of the cool things that you do. I mean, no suck up, but you do a lot of cool things. But this is one of the cool things you do, which is make, I don't know if you have multiple nieces, nephews, I don't remember what it is, but you make Halloween costumes for them every year.
Yeah.
I just think it's so cool that you do that.
Yeah. You know, it's like, and we can make the connection with stitched gifts as well. When you
or not, I don't care.
Or no. Where I'm going with this is when you make something for someone and it's genuinely appreciated, that's what makes you want to do it again. You know.
Yes.
And that's the connection I'm making here. I have 4 nephews and 1 niece. 3 nephews are from one sister, and then my other sister has a niece and a nephew. The Halloween costumes that I've been making over the last number of years have been for the niece and nephew from one sister. It started with the very first nephew, who is now 15. And he's a end of September baby. And so he was, I think, literally just 4 weeks old, his first Halloween. And my sister had this very clear idea what she wanted to dress him as, because she was on maternity leave and she was going to be going to her company's Halloween party, and that was going to be the opportunity to, quote, show off the baby. and she wanted to dress him up as a blue crayon, and she could not find a blue crayon costume. And so she said, "Would you make me a blue crayon costume?" And again, he was a 4-week-old infant, and so I made a blue crayon costume for him, and she loved it, and it was a perfect thing, and we have some great pictures of it. And this was a long time ago, and I did make a costume for him, I guess a year later, and I'm trying to think if even the year after that. They lived in a couple different places around the country, and basically it wasn't super exciting for their family to have homemade Halloween costumes. And I just learned that I was, that's fine. When my other sister, so now fast forward in time, my niece is 7, almost 8 and she's a December baby. So her first Halloween, she was 10 months old. But that sister really wanted me to make a Halloween costume. And she said, "Would you make a pink crayon costume?" So, so I did. And it was very much appreciated. And the following year, she really wanted a costume. And what transferred in that house was not just my sister wanting the costume, which didn't really happen so much with the first sister. But as my niece got a little older, she really wanted Auntie to make the costumes. And then as her little brother, the first year her little brother came along, it was, "Well, you have to make a costume for both of us, Auntie." And, how can you not,
Right.
How can you
Yeah.
not? So that's what I've continued doing for these years now. So she is 7, almost 8. He is 4. And this year she wanted to be Annie, as in Little Orphan Annie, as in The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow. That
Yeah.
So that was just making a red dress with the white collar, and that was pretty simple. He decided he wanted, as I've said to a couple of friends, so if you're familiar with Toy Story and you have the choice of being Woody or Buzz Lightyear, which one would be the easier costume to make? And the answer would be Woody. And then which one did he choose? Of course, Buzz Lightyear.
Yep.
So I made him a Buzz Lightyear costume. Now, let me put it out there. I do not love to sew. I do not love to get out the sewing machine and piece together patterns like that. That is not my true love. This year, what I was doing was not hugely time consuming. There have been some years where there were a couple princess costumes that took up lots of time to make. There's been some years where it's felt like a huge imposition on my, stitching time kind of thing. But when you're doing something for someone that who's going to love and appreciate it, that genuinely helps.
Yeah, sure.
And again, stitchers will, you can make that connection whether you're stitching a gift or you're making a project bag or what have you. So I posted on Instagram just the other day a picture of the 2 costumes. I haven't put any pictures of the kids because my sister doesn't know about, so I didn't want to put any pictures of her kids on there. But the kids so I was up visiting my family this past weekend, and they love their costumes and they're very excited. And as it turns out, the other thing that makes this worthwhile is my sister gets excited about it because Halloween costumes are not just for that one day of Halloween. There's assorted events where they wear their costumes for a trunk or treat, and then there's a party that you wear your Halloween costume. My niece goes to dance class, and there's a dance class where they wear their Halloween costumes. And so we were counting, and my niece has 6 different events that she's going to be wearing her Halloween costume. So
she gets maximum use out of that thing.
She gets totally maximum use out of it. So
well, that's great.
So again, it's just it's when I know it's appreciated, and that makes it worthwhile. So
yeah.
Yep.
No, that's great when that happens, because I always have the memory in my head of the collection of prom homecoming dresses that we bought for Sarah. They got the one use, and then Yep. So okay, the biggest question I have: what did he buy a helmet for Buzz Lightyear? How has the head part been done?
Luckily, the 4-year-old, is not a fan of really having anything on his head.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I did not even need to, last year he was Spider-Man, and I did create like a hood that was detachable through Velcro. So when he could handle having a hood, he had a hood on his head, but then there were times where he didn't even want a hood. I didn't even do anything head-wise. But what we did for Buzz Lightyear, did purchase a set of wings that you actually like are blow-up wings.
Oh, okay.
And he was very happy. And once I saw how they were once they arrived, it's like, oh, I could have made
Yeah,
something like that. But I was very happy that I didn't have to make that. that at least that part of it was. That piece of it was purchased. And for the Annie, there was a wig that my sister found somewhere that is going to work because my niece does not have red hair, does not have the curly look of it. But so those two components, the red hair and the wings of Buzz Lightyear, are the pre-made stuff, and the other part is the handmade. And that's also an interesting piece. The appreciation of a handmade thing. You could, for both of those this year, the Annie and the Buzz Lightyear, you can certainly buy those costumes.
Sure.
Those are not, and that there is the appreciation of, and my sewing skills are not professional level by any means, and there's a little wonkiness, and seams don't line up, and nothing is finished off nicely on the inside because they're just Halloween costumes and the whole 9 yards. And and it's just appreciated for what it is. And for that, I'm glad. So. Well,
no, I mean, to me, that's why I think it's so cool, because it's the memories, the costumes really are secondary. It's the memories that each year as I was growing up, my aunt made us costumes, that's the cool part.
Yeah.
And we didn't have store-bought costumes. Our aunt made them for us. And I think that's just fantastic. Those little kids get that. And especially if they're going to that number of events, to have that kind of a thing, that's terrific. Well, that's neat. That's neat. Yay for you. Every year I just think of when that comes up, you usually have a picture of something. I just always kind of applaud you from Illinois for
thank you
for doing that. I just think it's a neat thing. Yeah. Yay for you.
Thank you.
So speaking of little kids, and this is where I want your advice. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. Always happy to have your advice.
Yeah.
So Marga and a group of her Bible class, they have a group of four women. I don't know. Who cares? 4 or 5 women that meet Saturday mornings a couple times a month. Started out as a Bible study, has now just become go to each other's house, have breakfast, and talk. Whatever. And I say that kind of flippant, but and I'll dive, take a little tangent here. Marga has that group, and then she has a group that of women that started at our previous church, that started also as a Bible study, and they were all young women, either with young babies or about to have them. And there's a group of 6 or 8 of them, I think. And let's see, Sarah will be 38 in October, at the end of the month. And so they've been getting together as long as Sarah's been alive, and probably longer by a couple of years. They started as a Bible study, and they get together every month for dinner. And have done that through all of those years. So that all of them have had babies, raised their kids. Their kids are all married and have their own kids. So this group, all the way through, I think it's just one of the coolest things on the planet, that started as a Bible study. And what happened was they were doing these Bible studies, and they thought, wait a minute, we're with kids all day long, running households. How about if this just becomes just a night out for us? And so that's what they did. And they just said, all right, we get the Bible study at church and, all that thing. We're just going to have a night out for us once a month for dinner. And that's what they've been doing for probably almost 40 years now. Wow. And it's just, in the same group. And so they've been through their entire lives, the child rearing lives together, which I just think is just one of the coolest things on that I've ever seen. And it continues to this day. And then now this Bible study group that Marga has, they meet, and they started out, and they just ended up being a chance for them to get together once or twice a month and just have some time. And again, it's, Saturday mornings, a couple hours, somebody will make breakfast. Next month it'll be someone else will make breakfast. I love it when they're at our house because Margaret goes all out, so I have a great breakfast. It's fantastic. But one of the things that they've been doing is there's a school in our district that is mainly made up of kids who have needs, economic needs, like clothes, place to live, have had tragedies of one kind or another in their lives. I'm sure most of them only have one parent, all kinds of things.
Sure.
And so they have taken it upon themselves. And one of the things that happens is the other schools in the district have these PTAs, Parent Teacher Association groups, that do things for the teachers. So they'll have, for Parent Teacher Conference, they'll have a dinner each night for them. Or for Teacher Appreciation Week, something each day. And there's all kinds of things that these PTAs do. Well, this school could never have it because the parents, a lot of them don't have cars, couldn't get to school if they wanted to. They certainly don't have money. So there's no opportunity for that. So Marga's group, the group that Marga is part of, has taken it upon themselves to be that organization and to provide those things for these teachers so that they get the same kind of experience that teachers in the other schools do. And that's worked out really well.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's just great and that they do this. And then one of the things that they've been wanting to do is bring something to the kids that is outside of the school curriculum. So they're putting together some ideas for activities, after-school activities that these kids could do. And then one of the questions was, would I do a needlework class or something, some kind of a needlework class?
Sure.
And of course I would. Of course I will. And so I'm going to be coming up at some point in the near future, twice a month, going to be doing, and these are first grade through fifth grade, I think it is, kids. So I said, sure, I'll do it. But now, open my mouth, and now I got to figure out what to do. And so, I'm debating, do I go the cross stitch route? Do I go the needlepoint basket weave route? And then, trying to gauge how simple. Because I have to be really, really careful because I could get carried away in a heartbeat, and the whole thing is a waste of time. So I have to be really careful. So, and you relate much more to those kids than I do as a teacher because my life was middle school and high school. So what is the mentality? What should I be looking at?
Well, my first question is, will you have like first through fifth grade all at one time, or will you have isolated age groups at separate times?
And I think it's going to be a complete crapshoot. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's going to be all are invited. Yeah.
All are invited. And you have no idea of how many you'll have at any given time?
No.
And will you have any help doing this?
Marga.
Okay.
And there's another lady in our handbell choir who I think I could enlist to help. Yeah, so it has, okay, so you're asking questions, that I have not entered my mind yet. So those are good. Yeah.
So, so those are all the things that I would think out in terms of planning out for it. I'm thinking about when I have done when I've taught cross stitch to students at some different ages, and like all the little things that I think might be helpful in that realm. Certainly, expecting kids to be able to thread a needle. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's where the adults need to be on hand to thread needles. if you can get the kids into the idea of making an X in the holes, that's success. That said, I think you could get that going for the 5th graders, the 4th graders, probably the 3rd graders. I'm not sure what you're going to be able to get from, let's say, a 1st or 2nd grader. And that's why.
So that's going to be kind of my dividing line there, 2nd to 3rd grade then.
Maybe, yes. I mean, maybe what you need to have is almost maybe 2 options of projects.
Okay.
One could be like in the sense of a very basic, almost embroidery type of project where you just have a piece of fabric and you draw and one thing that occurs to me is a letter of the alphabet, like their initial, because that's something that has often been appealing when you're teaching kids something, is to do a letter. The very first project is to do a letter of the alphabet, and you could have, whatever letter you could draw on with a pencil, the letter, and then a 1st or 2nd grader might be able to take a needle and go up and down and be able to, with the very basic idea, just in effect like a running stitch kind of way.
Okay.
Be able to
just an outline then.
Just an outline kind of thing.
Okay.
Because I just know from trying to do some little experiments with my niece, even like a year or 2 ago, so that's maybe even a little bit younger than we're talking, the hand-eye coordination of being able to get in the holes is a challenge when they're younger. And that's where your 1st or 2nd graders are going to have difficulty, whether the holes are going to be cross-stitch Aida cloth holes or whether they're going to be, plastic canvas holes. There's still going to be a difficulty in getting in the holes. But if you have a few projects to choose from, like a running stitch embroidery kind of thing, a cross-stitch for anyone who wants to take that on, maybe even like a plastic canvas basket weave kind of thing for anyone who might want to try that. I mean, it is about where they could have success, because it's about what they want to try and do. And it could be for our first project, it's about, can you make the letter, for your initial using thread? And here are 3 different ways that you could do it. Let's find the one that works for you.
Okay.
And but the only challenge with this is that if you have even, let's say, 6 kids and you've got a couple of 1st graders and a couple of 5th graders and a 3rd and a 4th grader, that's an awful lot for 2 or 3. I mean,
right.
you almost need one-on-one help in that kind of scenario. And this is why I don't know whether you can get signups or you can know ahead of time how many kids are going to be interested, who's going to actually show up to your sessions, to know how to prepare for them. Because I mean, that's the way that I had the most success, was just it's about the preparation for it, so that the kids don't get too frustrated with what they're being asked to do.
See that? All right. See, that helps me immensely. I'm pretty sure that I will have sign up ahead of time, just because permission slips and that kind of thing will require it. So I think I'll have that. But see that? Okay. See, I knew you would know. This helps me kind of sort it out, because to me it was just a blank slate and I'm going to dive in and hope for the best. So this helps me sort out that I need to look at the different levels, and because I thought, if I could do large or low thread count, large grid Aida, that everyone could do that. But if that's not going to, if that's going to be a struggle for a 1st grader, and I need to just do basic running stitch, then I can do that. But I like that was the other thing. What project? But the initial there is perfect. Yeah, everybody can relate to that. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And definitely having, a big part of the fun is picking out what colors, so definitely having lots of color options to choose from. And accepting that they are going to put knots on the back of their thread, on the back of their project. Like, you have to, like,
Arlene, that's going to hurt.
as much as you want. Like, so when I was
no, it's going to hurt.
when I was doing the Kissing Pillow project with 6th graders, so just a little bit of background, the Kissing Pillow was a community service project that we were making these little pillows. They're about, well, the final thing was about 4 inches by 4 inches. The stitching area was about 3 inches by 3 inches. A fairly simple pattern to follow. 6th graders was the age, and I was teaching all of them how to cross stitch and then having them follow the pattern. And I was trying for that age, I was trying my best, and I started all of them. I put in like 2 or 3 cross stitches to all the projects.
Oh, okay.
So, and what I did was, one of the first things I did, I said, everyone look at the back of it. See how that, the thread tail was like caught up with the first couple stitches.
Uh-huh.
But the truth is, once you have some threads started, you can always run other stitches underneath it. Now, I am fully aware that once they got going, some of them put knots in. Some of the teachers I had helping me were doing knots.
Oh, uh-huh.
I just had to accept that knots were involved. But anytime, and there were plenty of kids that could never get a needle threaded. We went through so many needle threaders. We went through every possible. There were just some kids that whenever they were done with a thread, they came up to me or one of my helpers, and we had to end the thread for them and start a new one. And so whenever I was starting a new thread, I would just run it under threads. I wouldn't use a knot.
Right.
But you just have to accept that knots might be involved.
Okay.
Some of like the giant basic rules, we joke, there's no thread, there's no cross stitch police, but some of the basic rules that you want to believe are basic have to get thrown out the window when you are first working with kids.
Okay.
Certainly if you're going to do something that involves 2 threads, I would definitely.
Oh, no, I'm not. Oh, no.
What?
No, I got to find something that's 1 thread. 1 thread.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, you could find something that's 1 thread. You could use, if you've got, depending on what size 8 or whatever you get, you could possibly use like Pearl 8.
Yeah.
Like Pearl 8 cotton. That would probably work just fine. Because the other thing I was going to say, you could use 1 strand of floss and double run it through, so that, because what I was going to say is that the other problem I would have, and you would have this with even littler fingers than the fingers that I was working with, is that the needle would come off, because they would pull the needle and not hold on to the thread, and they would pull, and then the needle would come out, and I'd constantly be threading the needles. And I would teach kids, when you're pulling the needle, you have to hold it near the eye so that your fingers are also holding the thread. And again, this is the age difference. An 11-year-old would be able to understand that, and some 7-year-olds probably could, and others would struggle with that. And again, it'll kind of depend. But an advantage of doing like 1 strand of floss that goes through the needle, and then you put the 2 ends together at the other end. So not doing a loop start. That's not what I'm talking about.
No, I see. Have the fold is at the needle, so that it will not come out. Okay.
Exactly. Put the fold at the needle so it won't come out. That will actually help you when you're working with kids, so that the needle won't come out. That would be a reason to do a 2-strand like DMC floss or something like that.
Okay, so that might even, all right, now you flipped it over in my head. That could be a real plus, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Because the thought of rethreading needles all day long is just, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of patience. You need a lot of patience when you're working with kids.
This is going to hurt.
Needlework project. But hopefully, when I did this Kissing Pillow project with the entire 6th grade at my school for 5 years in a row, and each year there'd be plenty of kids that could barely handle the time that they were required to work on it. But every year there would also be a core group that loved it and always wanted to work on it during free time. And one year that core group was almost all boys, which was just, I had so many pictures of boys working on their cross stitch, which was just awesome. So like I knew that it clicked with some kids. And so that's what you have to remember, is that it's not going to click with all of them, but at least some of them, they're going to get something from it. And you may have someone who's going to finish that initial in that first day, or they're going to take it home and finish it. And then you need to be prepared for what the second project is going to be, or, you know, where you're going to go from there.
Yeah.
And if they like doing letters, they certainly could do their name, but you could also look online for little freebie designs, or if you have any booklets of little freebies, you know, all full X's, that kind of stuff.
So that's then where the teacher comes in that you have more material prepared for the class than you could possibly use just because of that. Yes. Yes.
But I think you'll get a lot from that first session, the first 2 sessions. You'll get a lot from who are the kids I have in front of me, who's really into this, who do I really need to be thinking about, what projects I could bring in for them, you know, what the interest level is, what's the skill level, who's really getting this, whose needle am I not having to thread every 5 seconds.
Yeah, so, that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, see, that's a huge help. Now that gets me oriented. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And are you a thread licker when it comes to?
No.
Okay. So how would you?
Gross.
Well, but keep in mind, you're going to be working with kids that have sticky hands and are just okay. You're working with kids here. So are you likely to just snip an end if you have to if you have to rethread a needle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that we started to do, because I admit I am a thread licker, but
and I don't hold that against you, Arlene.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But we did also keep handy like wet paper towels so that we could wet our fingers and then just wet the end of the thread.
Okay.
Wet fingers instead of like with saliva. So that was just another little hint in terms of threading.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Like teaching anything, a bunch of planning. Mm-hmm.
Yep, a bunch of planning, and then in a lot of ways, it's like all the planning could go right out the window on that first day when they walk in the door.
Yep.
But I'll be very curious to know how it goes.
Well, I'll be more than happy to tell you. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Keep us in the loop.
Yeah, anyone who's taught a classroom for very long has had that experience where the best plan blows up in the first 5 minutes. Yep. Okay, now what do we do? Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a long day because I had 5 classes that were going to do this.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Sort it out fast. Yep. Okay, that helps. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yay. Now my wheels can spin. Okay. I'm more than happy to thank Jessica Grimm for helping me out. Now, Jessica Grimm has been a guest twice. Very talented designer, needleworker, teacher, lives in the Alps somewhere in Germany. Mm-hmm. And if you're not following her, that's one. It's Jessica Grimm, Grimm, 2 M's. And that is a newsletter I would get on the list because she always has interesting things going on. Not unusual for her to travel and see ancient, old needlework pieces. She's one. Definitely get on her list. So I've been Vonna and I are doing this modern folk embroidery Agnes Day stitch along for Lent next year. Mm-hmm. And my original plan was a deep royal purple ground cloth, and then DMC. What's that real bright one? 5200, B5200. Yeah.
Yep. B5200. Yep.
Use that as the thread, so I'd have a real bright white on deep purple background. Mm-hmm. So it didn't look like I was going to be able to find the purple I wanted. And so anybody who's followed what we did at Sassy Jack's knows that I came home with a piece of 40 count white linen and a Verissois 103. What was the color I got? 623, deep royal purple. Mm-hmm. So I was going to do purple thread on white linen. Well, Jessica Grimm was watching our videos and wrote to me that she had dyed some linen purple for a project and didn't use it and wasn't going to use it. Would I like some? Would I like some? And just posted a picture this morning. We're recording on Tuesday of the deep purple that she has that she's sending to me, and it's perfect. It's perfect. So I'm back to plan A, where I'm going to stitch on a purple background with the 5200 white DMC. So I'm excited about that. But now I'm wondering, because I don't think it's 40 count. I think it's like 32 or 35. And I'd really like to stitch it without using 2 threads. So I have to see if 5200, what it's available in, other than just regular floss. If there's a small pearl that it's available in, I don't know.
Oh.
And I have my chart here in front of me, but didn't have the good sense to look ahead and see. It's available. Oh, it's available in everything. I win.
Ah.
I win.
So you might do it in a pearl 12 or something?
Yeah. 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 Because see, I think that would give a nice lift off the cloth. I have to test it. I may end up double strand DMC, just because it looks better. But I'm gonna have to test that.
Sure.
So anyway, thanks to Jessica Grimm for putting me back to plan A. And, a fat half of 40 count white linen. Yeah, I can find a use for that. That's not a problem.
You probably can.
Yeah, not a problem. And this thread is beautiful. Deep purple. Man, it's nice. So, those things will happen. So huge thanks to Jessica for doing that. Excellent. Very kind of her. And
yes.
So it's coming to me, and it's beautiful purple, and it's going to be exactly what I had in mind from day one. So, anybody who's interested, welcome to join that stitch along. We're going to start on Fat Tuesday and right on through Lent, and it's a decent sized design. I'm mentally preparing myself to just pound away with every waking moment to try and get most of it, if not all of it, done by Easter, which might be tough, but I'm gonna go for it. And so you're welcome to do it. Modern Folk Embroidery, Jacob DeGraff is the designer, and you can go to Modern Folk Embroidery, and then Sassy Jack's. Kim has his full line of designs there, so you could get the design and the materials. Jacob will sell you the design by PDF download, or you can go to Sassy Jack's and get the design, and then of course Kim will fix you up with whatever thread and a ground cloth you want to use. So either way, I don't know if anyone else carries his designs. I don't think so. So that's 2 options for you if you want to join us for the stitch along. Vaughn and I are going to do that. She's going to do white on white. That's going to be fun to see.
Wow. So I'm looking at it right now. 217 by 357.
Yeah.
You're going to complete that within the space of Lent. I'm impressed.
I'm an idiot.
No, you're setting a high bar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know I am. Yeah. No, I'm just thinking, hey, let me, because I never do anything for Lent. Like people say I'm giving up this or that for Lent. And I'm Lutheran, we're just mad. So I don't do any of that stuff. So I thought, one time I'm going to make a commitment during Lent and see what I can do.
Okay.
Because it's a beautiful piece.
Sure.
It's just gorgeous. So, yeah. But thanks to Jessica for putting me back to plan A, because I'm pretty excited to have that white on purple. That's what I really wanted. So she did it.
Nice.
Making its way across the big pond as we speak.
Awesome.
Yes. So anybody welcome to join us. I mean, there's nothing formal about it. You buy the pattern and whatever you're going to stitch it with, and we start Fat Tuesday, and we'll probably do the usual Gary and Vanna thing. We'll have a couple of videos or something and talk about it and share it on Instagram and have at it. Yes. I think that's going to be it, Arlene.
Oh, okay. We can call it here. Yeah.
I think we will. Because there's a couple other subjects here on the big fat list, but they're going to take a long time. So we'll save them for the next time, and it won't be a month the next time, so we'll have that.
All right.
We'll just save them for that. That's going to be it.
Okay.
Works by ABC is Arlene's Designs, Etsy, and her website.
Yep, I should have some new designs coming out fairly soon, hopefully next week. So keep your eye on hopefully there should be a FlossTube video coming soon. So that would be like my announcement of new designs. Also look on my Etsy for that, and Instagram and all the places when I have those all put together. But yes, closing in on finishing up some things. So I'm excited about that.
Good for you. And as I have said many, many times, Arlene's FlossTubes, follow them, get them.
Yeah.
She does just does a real nice job. It's always either learn about her new designs or you learn about other things, and then frequently throws in some of the bobbin lacing, which I find eternally fascinating. Yeah. And so watch that. Just go on YouTube and look for Arlene. It shows up. Trust me. It's there. Works by ABC, and at the Etsy shop you can buy the designs from the Etsy shop.
Yes, indeed.
And WeTalkFiber.com in the shop page to get needle minders. That's it. Thanks, Arlene.
Take care.